makes all these hot hatchbacks? Let's talk about the rules. They typically are front-wheel drive, have around 200 horsepower.
Turbocharged.
They're turbocharged, 4 seats, a hatch to carry some gear. Mazda took this chassis and made a hatchback with its hair on fire.
Who cares? I mean, what about it is to like, apart from the power?
It's hard to not like this car.
I'm driving the 6th generation of the car that started it all. This is the 2010 GTI.
It's just a refinement of the 5th generation, but refined in great ways. They improved the interior throughout, and it looks like they took the body style of the 5th generation and just squashed it a bit.
The most refined of all 3 of these cars.
This feels like an upscale German car. You didn't pay an upscale German price. I mean, this one, like this, is 25 grand. Exclusively at autostream.com/yoparts.
The GTI is like an iPhone. It's the original, it's the best, it's well built.
Now the red frame around the grille and the plaid interior, those are direct references back to the original GTI in 1976. And it's nice that the model keeps referencing. The problem is, in 2010, plaid interior looks like they're made out of somebody's golf pants.
I love the seats. Just a little bit of spice. It's like wearing a plain suit and some crazy socks. What other car does something as cool as this?
The last thing that you want to do is explain to your passengers why your interior is cool. It should just be cool.
That's okay, because the best part about the GTI is all in the details. This instrument panel is really configured right around the driver, and the shapes are coherent, they're well thought through. Look at the window switches. They've got a nice brushed metal lip on the leading edge. And that's a nice little detail that you might find on more expensive, more luxurious cars.
All the places in the interior you might possibly touch have great materials. There's a few places where the plastic gets a bit cheap, but it's things like map pockets that how often are you even going to touch? You'll be surprised how roomy these back seats are. You could absolutely get 2 friends in the back of this car.
Now, the GTI isn't going to win any styling awards. It's not the best looking car, but of all the GTIs, this is the best looking one.
But that's like saying it's your sister at her most attractive. You compare this to the others and the styling's just not interesting enough. I want to be compelled by this car, but looking at it, I'm just not. It's too bland.
It's not the most aggressive, but it's going to look good for years and years. The GTI is Christy Brinkley. You just can't deny it, she still looks hot. This has got to be one of the easiest, most fun to drive cars I've ever driven.
You could put a blind man in this car and talk him through how to drive it fast.
We all know how I am with a lot of power, turbocharging, and front-wheel drive. Volkswagen has figured out how to make all these 3 dance together.
Of course there's torque steer. It's front-wheel drive, but it's not as aggressive as the Speed 3. If you overcook a corner, there's definite understeer, and you can start to feel the tires squeal a little earlier than you'd think. The limits aren't as high as they are in the Speed 3. It's got more body roll. It feels about 6 inches taller, even though it isn't. The Speed 3 says, come on more, and the GTI goes, you know, I think you've had about enough.
It's great on freeways, it's great in the twisties, and it's even fine in traffic.
The GTI will actually start drifting along with the seam in the concrete. The good side of that is it is really light on its feet when you need it to be.
It just feels fast, even though it has the least power.
It certainly doesn't feel like a turbocharged engine. There's torque almost right above idle. At low RPMs, you can barely hear the engine. It feels like a quiet little econo box. Then you put your foot into it, and it growls like crazy. It's just another way that this car has 2 personalities.
And it also comes with one of the best paddle shifting transmissions on the market, and that's their dual clutch 6-speed DSG gearbox. But in this car, it's gotta be the 6-speed.
I can't get over how positive the 6-speed is. If I'm doing way too much on the entrance of a corner, I can find the gear I want no matter what.
The brakes are well suited to the car.
A solid pedal, a progressive feel. I can only describe this as German brakes.
They just work.
There's those good brakes again, and I found the gear that I wanted.
The GTI is not the jack of all trades, master of none. No, the GTI does everything well. I love this car. I love this car.
It's a perfect blending of the usable, luxurious commuter car and the crazy sports car. As a result, it can be beat in one category or the other, but nobody else has gotten this balance so perfect. But this one is my favorite styling.
It's okay, but it doesn't do really anything great. It kind of went like I expected to.
You're gonna be a snob, aren't you?
Yeah,